It's great to be back on YouTube, especially live. It's not something that I do often. And I wanted to just mention a few words about today's topic. Obviously, it's a big topic, getting hired as a designer in 2024. It's a tricky topic. There's a lot to cover, but we will be focusing on what can help you to get hired and what can make you stand out in the job market, in the creative industry. And we will be focusing on certification, which is, again, a topic that has been debated and has been questioned many times, whether it's necessary to have any certifications or exams or even background in like school, going to school to study. But I'm going to talk about all these things in this stream. And I will also be showing some cool examples in Photoshop, which I want to use to demonstrate how graphic design has changed in the last year or so, how generative AI especially is impacting or affecting the way we work, and whether it's a good thing or not. Is it making us more productive? Is it making us more creative? These are also questions that I would like to talk about today. And it's actually going to be a series of live streams. This is the first one where we will be focusing on Photoshop and changes that we've seen in Photoshop in the last year or so. And then next week we will be delving into Illustrator and then InDesign, and then there will be also another fourth stream which I will announce obviously in time. But in the meantime, while I am just waiting for everyone to tune in, if you don't mind using the chat, let me know where you are from, where you are tuning in from, and please ask any questions you have, and I will try to respond to these. I would like to keep this stream as interactive as possible. So any questions you have about being a designer in 2024, getting into design in 2024, or just generally any questions that you have. And I can see some people are already commenting. Welcome, Juliana from Brazil. We have Akins from Ghana. We have Crafting Visions from India. Awesome. Nice to see a very international crowd getting together. We have someone from Turkey, Indonesia. Awesome. Nice. So great to have you all. And without any further delay, I will get started. Someone's just asking what's my setup. I'm actually using a iMac Pro. It's quite an old computer. It's not like the latest one, definitely not the latest one. It's 2017. It's not even that powerful anymore, but it's still chugging along nicely. It's still doing what it needs to do. The only thing I changed was upgrading the memory. I have more memory in it than it was when I bought it originally. But I'm using this, and my main screen, the main monitor that I'm using is actually not the IMAX monitor. I am using the BenQ PD 3225U, which is an awesome monitor, and it's actually was a recent upgrade from the previous version, the 3220U, and it's just incredible. The colors on this monitor is brilliant for design. I am obviously biased because I've been using BenQ monitors for a long time, but I will talk a little bit more about this later, but for now, just briefly, that's the setup that I have. And there is a great question already from DJ Evolution from Canada. Do we really become a Photoshop certified professional certificate? Will this open job opportunities? So if you get certified, will it actually help finding jobs? That's one of the main questions that I'm going to talk about. So that's one of the main talking points of this stream, and it's a complex one. So I will try to answer this, but it's a bit more complex. I can't just say yes or no. It can be both. It really depends on how you utilize the exam and how you position yourself. Cool. So I am going to jump back into, actually, let me just jump back here. So starting with, let's just focus on the exam first and talk about this a bit. So Adobe used to have two types of exams. They used to have the expert and the associate exam. And I'm just going to make myself a little bit smaller here, so I'm not taking up half the screen. So they used to have two different levels. There was the associate exams and then the expert exams. And to become an Adobe Certified instructor, you had to become an expert. Now, associate was more like an entry level, like junior level user, while expert is supposed to be someone who knows pretty much everything there is to know about a tool like Photoshop. And then recently, probably a year and a half, 2 years ago, they introduced this new program called Adobe Certified Professional, which you can see here on my screen as well, ACP, and they removed the other two. So now this is the only certification option that you have that is by Adobe to prove your skill in a software. And this, the best way to say it is, this probably is positioned closer to the associate exam, how the associate exam used to be, but slightly above that. And the way the exam works, I just literally took an exam yesterday just to be really up to date and know how it works. Although I've done these exams many times in the past, but I wanted to make sure that I'm completely up to date with it. And I can even show you my score sheet if you don't believe me. Let me just jump back here in the score sheet. I just took a photo of my score sheet, and it's funny, it's not 100%, not 1,000 points. That's the scoring. So out of 1,000 points, I got 979 because I probably got one answer wrong for this category, or maybe even two answers wrong, I'm not sure. But publishing digital media, it probably was some kind of exporting option that I got wrong. These can be sometimes misleading or tricky, maybe I was just not paying attention. But there is no harm in showing this, and even for someone using this tool for so long and even obviously teaching it for many years, you can still make mistakes, and that's perfectly fine, because the passing rate is 700 points, which you can consider 70% the pass rate that you have to achieve, and that applies to all the exams, not just the Photoshop one. But the Photoshop one in particular has 13 questions and then 17 tasks. And this is the interesting bit. So you actually have to do 17 tasks directly within Photoshop. So the exam has a panel that's open within Photoshop, in the Photoshop that's installed on the machine where you are taking the test. And then the exam actually is running within Photoshop in the second half of the exam. The first half are multiple choice questions, and they are just running like a normal test. But then you actually end up being in Photoshop and you are using Photoshop. And the cool thing about that is that you are not restricted to do a task a certain way. Because obviously in Photoshop and in most Adobe applications, there are many different ways of doing the same task. So for instance, if I jump back into Photoshop, I can just say I want to, I'm just going to move a window over here. So let's just say I need to, on this document, if I, not that one. If I just go to this one, and if I just say that we, in this particular document, we need to hide the text layer or the type layer or reduce its opacity, how would we do that? And you actually have to do this within the tool. So it would open up the file that you need to work on, and then you literally can go through and use the layers panel, or you can use shortcuts. You would command click on the layers that you want to hide or make changes to and move them around, so on and so forth. So you can really interact with Photoshop the way you would normally do directly within the exam. So that's quite cool, because it really makes it feel like they're testing your actual skills. It's not like something that you can learn from a book. You actually have to be able to use the tool. So that improved a lot compared to past iterations of certifications for these tools. However, there are certain weaknesses of this exam still. And one of the main problem that I have, especially now that I've seen recently, I've done not only the Photoshop but the Illustrator and InDesign ACP exams as well. I've done on the same day, yesterday. The main issue that I have with them is that the examples that they use in this tasks section or segment of the exam are just incredibly bad. The actual visual designs of the examples, and they're not supposed to be bad, because it's not, the task is not asking you to improve the design. You are just asked to do certain things like change the blend mode of a layer, or export the document in a certain way, or open a new document, or create a new document, so on and so forth. But whenever there is a document that opens up a Photoshop composition, it's just I can't show these examples, unfortunately, with you, but just imagine examples that you would show to students what not to do as a graphic designer. It literally is like the best of examples of what not to do as a graphic designer. And unfortunately, that's just the way the exam is. It's just, if you have a keen eye for design and visual aesthetics, these exams will be like hard to get through. It's literally like your eyes will hurt by the end of it, because there's just so much problem with the compositions that they are using. But the actual way the test runs is good, and that's more important, to be honest. I just thought I wanted to mention this. All right, so coming back to the question that someone asked is whether we actually need to take these exams, and whether this is something that is going to help us position ourselves or set ourselves apart from our competition in the creative field. And my opinion on this is that, for me personally, getting certified by Adobe really put me on the in the market, and being able to start working in the creative industry. It really made a big difference for me. So personally, I'm a big supporter of these exams and getting certified. Now, of course, my path was slightly different, because I not only wanted to be a designer, but I also wanted to be an instructor. I wanted to teach these tools. And if that's something that you want to do, these exams, of course, are still highly recommended to pass, just so you can prove that you have understanding of the tools. But unfortunately, Adobe, for some reason, again, decided to cancel the certified instructor level, or they don't have that program anymore. They don't have Adobe certified instructors officially. So you can't 100% like prove that you are an instructor, but the closest thing to that is this exam, the Adobe Certified Professional. So I would highly recommend this for anyone who wants to teach. Now, for those who want to be working in a, let's say in an agency, I know personally, I've worked in many graphic design studios and agencies, and there was definitely it was a plus if someone had certifications. Like, I was hired in one job specifically because I had these certifications over another candidate who was probably a bit better than me in designing, but they could see that I literally passed, I don't know, at that point, like 6 or 7 expert exams, and they could tell that I'm really knowledgeable about the tools, and they wanted someone in the studio who can help the others make sure that they do things efficiently and they utilize the features in the tools the right way. So yeah, that gave me an edge when I was applying for that job. So yeah, there is definitely no harm in doing these or getting certified, but they can't guarantee that you will be hired. So that's like obvious. Just like anything else, like you can't really rely on one specific thing to be able to work in a certain field. So just having the certification is not going to get you a job, but having a great portfolio, of course, for all creative professionals is probably the most important one. Have a great CV is also important, and then have these certifications together with those is going to make a good impact whenever you're applying to jobs. So I'm just checking the comments. In the meantime, if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat. So there is going to be, this whole stream will be possible to watch later. Whoever is just tuning in for a bit and doesn't have time to watch the whole thing is going to be available here on the YouTube channel for anyone to watch. And Nicole, one of our pro member students, is asking this. We will also share it in the community to make sure that everyone can catch up on this. So yes, we will be sharing it there as well. Okay, so now let me give you a few examples of what type of questions you can expect in the ACP or Adobe Certified Professional exam. So on the website, of course, you can find the topics that are covered, like working in the design industry, and then like knowing how to prepare images, like handle certain demographics and target audience. And this first section, so working in the design industry, is more theoretical. It's more like knowing about how to position a design project, how to communicate with the colleagues and clients, and like what does copyright mean, how does that apply to the work that you do, and then some terminology. But I made some notes for myself on this, and I think the most important things to be familiar with, and this actually applies to all the 3 main Adobe design exams, so Illustrator, Photoshop, and InDesign. You need to know about the following couple of things. You need to know what a project scope is, project goals, designer deliverables, and design process. Generally, this is about talking about the design process, and we actually have a course on this which is called the process of design. I can just show this quickly here on the screen, and yeah, so this is part of the graphic design theory series, which goes really deep into this topic. But even if you just look up and Google those couple of things that I said and familiarize yourself with them, that's already going to help you. But yeah, this is a course that I worked on last year. I think it was released last year. It's a series of 12 courses, out of which one is the process of design. You can see the topics here. So yes, that's the process of design is one of them. It's probably one of my biggest achievements in terms of course creation. I cover in the whole series over 500 terms that you come across, or you can come across in graphic design, and all of these are explained in context, so through examples and comparing successful and less successful designs, analyzing them, and yeah, we go through more than 1,000 examples. So yeah, it's a massive course, and if you want to check it out, you can find out more about it from our website. So you just have to go through the Advanced Learning Graphic Design Theory series if you're interested. And while I'm on our website, I just wanted to mention, this is actually something that I would recommend for everyone to check out. We are currently running a design contest. We announced it a few days ago. This is running in September. 25th of September is the deadline to submit the work, and the contest is for a logo design for a fictional brand called Rainbow and Puddles, and it's a kids clothing brand who specializes in outdoor wear and accessories like raincoats, welly boots, hats, and scarves. So yeah, the link is in the description below for the design contest. You can find it there, and anyone can submit work. You just have to click on the submit your designs here, or all the way at the bottom there's also this big green button. That's where you can submit the work, and you can actually win quite valuable subscriptions to our pro membership, where I directly, personally can mentor you and help you get better at design. So we have the third place 1 month of this, second place will get 2 months of this, and the winner will get 3 months pro membership, which is worth around $200 at the moment. Plus, all of those who submit their work will be featured on our channel, because I will be reviewing these work live here on our channel in the form of a live stream like this. So yeah, make sure you check this contest out, and even if you're not into logo design, this might be a good little challenge and exercise for you to try your skills out. So yeah, have a look at that, and if we get a good amount of quality submissions for this first contest that we are running, we actually have plans to continue running these every month, and every month it will be slightly different like sector within the graphic design industry. We will be doing like packaging design, maybe licensing design, maybe creative retouching and stuff like that. So yeah, keep an eye out on these. So yeah, no, this is for anyone. You don't have to be our pro member, you don't have to be any subscriber to us. Anyone freely can enter these contests, and it's completely free. No submission fee. We just want to see as much work as possible, and of course still do your best, and that way you will get a chance to win. So yeah, check it out. So moving on, about the questions, I'm going to jump back into Photoshop, and I'm going to talk a little bit about a couple of additional things that you need to know for the exam. So besides the more theoretical things, like there's also like copyright and model release, which they ask questions about. Then they normally have like typography-based questions like kerning, leading, baseline, legibility. These things you should be also familiar with. Again, these are things that I cover in the Graphic Design Theory series. Then there's digital images, digital imaging terms like what's a vector, vector graphics, what does rasterize mean, what does resampling means, what's a bitmap image, what are color modes and color spaces. And then in terms of like compositional rules like framing, rule of thirds, focal point, radial symmetry, texture, again, these are things that they can ask. And then very commonly they would ask about image file formats, like you have to know the differences between a PNG, a JPEG, a GIF, an SVG, and really know what each of these file formats are good for, and why we should use one over the other. And then the bulk of the exam, I would say this is what I covered so far, roughly is around 20% of the exam. But the bulk of the exam, the 80% of the questions and tasks that you will have to do, are about actual Photoshop features. And one thing that definitely will come up are at least once or twice are the non-destructive features, and that includes smart filters, masks, and adjustment layers. So for instance, they would ask you how can you create a layer and make sure that when you are using the free transform tool, it's not going to lose resolution when you are changing the size. Obviously, for that you have to know that you need a smart object for that. Or if you, for instance, there is one that they ask you to use the threshold. I've seen in one of the exams, use the threshold adjustment as and again non-destructively. Then you have to know that first your layer will have to be turned into a smart object, which obviously you can do many ways, but this one is already a smart object. If I now go to the image menu, adjustments, and choose threshold, then let's just say I set it up, make it a bit brighter, something like that. Then when this is applied, this is non-destructive because it can be turned on and off, and I can also go back, double click on it, and make changes to it. And if I change my mind, I can also delete that smart filter. So yeah, simple things like that. Most of the tasks in the exam would take probably 2 to 3 minutes to complete, including reading the task. And you actually get altogether 30 questions. So once again, 13 multiple choice questions and then 17 tasks that you have to do within the tool. And for all of this together, you have 50 minutes to complete. So yeah, you shouldn't spend more than 2 to 3 minutes for sure on the tasks. The questions are faster because you don't have to do anything. You just have to select the right answer. So Ryan was asking, are there resources specifically for designing for print and packaging amongst our courses? So yes, we have in the design theory series, there's one, it's actually the longest course in that series, is about print design, and that covers packaging design as well as lots of other things that would go or would be considered as part of the print design discipline. But since you are asking about packaging design,
someone's at the front door doorbell.
Sorry, that's just Google is talking. So since you are asking about packaging design specifically, we have plans of doing a dedicated course on that. I will actually have a YouTube tutorial coming out this month, which I am doing in collaboration with Packdora, which is an awesome site. I can already just show it here quickly. It's probably one of the best sites for packaging design, where you have loads of amazing die lines, and you can make changes to them. You can see them live updating the measurements that you are using. You can download the Illustrator working files for these die lines, and then you can upload them back into the website and visualize the product, see it in 3D. You can even export it in video format to present it to a client. This is an awesome tool. So if you are interested to learn more about this and see how actually a full packaging design process is done using this tool and Illustrator, then keep an eye out for that video. We will be releasing it later this month. So, all right. Now let me see if there's any other question. What's the hardest question? DG Evolution is asking. So going back in the exam, what's the hardest question? For me, the trickiest questions are usually the ones where they ask you to export your work in a certain way, because to be honest, most of the time I use the export as feature, but they might ask you questions about exporting with I don't know. I think one of the questions wanted me to use either the old save for web option or the layers to files, I think, and I got confused. I used the export as, or I said you can choose export as to even export hidden files, but the layer to files is the one that has the option specifically to whether you want to export only visible layers or even hidden layers. So that, I think that was, at least in my most recent exam, that was the one that I got wrong, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, that these exporting questions can be tricky in my opinion. But yeah, so besides knowing about non-destructive editing, they like to ask questions about the most basic stuff, like how to use shapes, how to use patterns, how to use gradients. And for instance, with gradients, you would have to know what gradient options are there. So obviously you have your linear gradient, then you have your radial gradient, and you actually need to know the names of these. So if I just create a new gradient layer, right? Here you can see the names of them: linear, radial, angle, reflected, and diamond. So if they show you a screenshot of, for instance, a reflected gradient, you will need to know what that is actually called. So it might be a multiple choice question where you have to connect to the words to the screenshots, which gradient is which. So that's a very common one. Then they would ask questions about creating a new document. So for instance, when you create a new document, they would specify that this needs to be a web format and a web large preset, and then it has to be a specific bit depth, it has to be using a specific color mode, and sometimes they might ask about things that you can set up here in the advanced options as well. And then you have to make sure that it's named according to whatever they specify in the question. Now, one general advice that I would have is to always read the question twice before you do anything, especially when it's a task within Photoshop. So always double check that you understood the question correctly, and slowly. Don't rush through the question. Read it really carefully and pay attention to all the words and details that they included in the sentence, because some of the questions can be tricky and they intentionally try to mislead you doing something that then is going to count as an error. But that pretty much applies to all type of tests and exams, and the Adobe Certified Professional exams are similar, or they are the same. So yeah, you have to be you have to really pay attention to reading the questions. Now, the other thing that they will test you on is whether you recognize the icons, the tools that are in Photoshop. So, and that can be quite specific. That they might show, for instance, they might show you the retouching tools, and the retouching tools, some of them are very similar. So there's the spot healing brush, the remove tool, and the healing brush tool. They all look very similar, and that would be a very typical question they would ask. They would say, okay, so which one of these is the spot healing brush tool? And you would need to know that. So it's very easy to mix these up, and you might actually choose the icon for the remove tool because it has those little stars next to it, but you might think that that's a spot that is going to remove. So yeah, just make sure that you familiarize yourself with the tool icons, and you're on top of the latest ones, because that's what they are going to test you on. And there's like a recent tool, the adjustment brush tool. For instance, if you haven't used this before, this is something that they might ask as well. And this obviously works well in combination with the contextual taskbar, which you can move in different places. I can choose what adjustment I want to use, and then I can use my brush tool. I'm just going to make it bigger, and I can start painting over an area, and it automatically adds the adjustment layer with a mask based on what I'm doing. So I'm just quickly showing this tool to you. Okay, I'm just going to remove that quickly. Okay, someone is asking what hosting service do I use. Uh, well, we use WordPress is the main website that we have, but then our courses are hosted on Thinkific, and our community is on Circle. So we use a combination of these three: WordPress, Thinkific, and Circle. And we spent a lot of time customizing them, and within WordPress we are using Thrive themes if we want to be a bit more technical. But yeah, that's generally how our platform is built, based on these tools and customized versions of them. And there's a lot of integrations between them, like single sign-on and so on and so forth. Okay. Cool. All right. Now, I wanted to mention another important thing, that we actually have another link in the description below. So we are planning to, let me just jump over here and drop this in here as well. Yeah, we are planning to do courses. Actually, I already started working on these, hence I'm doing this webinar as well, since it's on top of my mind. I'm working on courses dedicated to preparing for these exams, and there is actually an exam preparation product that you can buy that simulates the tests. But I feel like even though they are useful, and this is something you can buy directly from the company who is running these exams, Certiport, they are useful, but I feel like with a bit more guidance and like directly explaining the features and tools that you have to be familiar with, that you can literally prepare for these exams within a day. And I'm not joking. Like, Adobe is recommending that you need to have 150 hours spent in the tools using them before you attempt to do these exams. I'm not saying someone completely beginner can prepare in a day, but if you have a basic understanding of the tool, whether that's Photoshop, Illustrator, or InDesign, going through these courses that we are planning to release soon in October or November, I think you should be able to prepare within a day, a couple of hours. So the courses will be literally not long, probably like 2-3 hours each, and that's really is going to set you up to be ready for these exams. So the link in the description below, again, is a completely free sign up. If you want to be notified about these courses and potentially win a free access to them, then you can sign up here. And also we will be giving out actual access to the exams as well, which each exam is $150 each, and we are going to give out some of these for people who sign up to this newsletter. So even if you're not going to end up getting these courses from us, at least you will be amongst those people who might win either the courses or win a chance to get these exam vouchers that you can use to do these exams. And so have a look at that as well. Just wanted to mention before we move on. Let me just see a few questions that are raised here. I'm just going to keep this on the screen until then. Cool. So, Inside Your Bones is asking, I'm a graphic designer. After CS6, these programs all went to cloud-only subscription. Well, yeah, I mean, that's happened, I think, in 2013 is when they made the change. So it's been quite a while now. It's crazy how time flies. But yeah, I remember buying these previous versions. CS, I think, was the first one that I bought. I used the ones before it as well. But yeah, I think I bought the first Creative Suite version of it, and to use it professionally for my work. But yeah, so Creative Cloud is debated whether it's good for us or not. I can generally see subscription fatigue, not just with software, but in general. Like there's subscriptions for everything, and that's obviously our training portal also runs on subscription, and it's very hard to avoid this because that's how currently the industry is built, and everything is based in the cloud. And yeah, instead of paying a one-off fee and then owning something forever, we have to be subscribed and pay membership fees for everything. And yeah, Adobe was quite early on in this game, and but they were not the only one at that time already starting this. But there are still the other type of companies, like Procreate is a great example, who still believes, and that's one of their main like selling point, that you can buy their product once and you own it forever, even including all the updates to their products. So yeah, there's examples on both end. I can't really say much about this because that's just the way it is. But since Adobe has been scrutinized by the industry for a number of things, the like issues with being difficult to cancel your subscription, which might not even be 100% according to like user rights, and then there's been obviously the generative AI implementation of it, and how they might have access to stuff that you have in your Creative Cloud account, like the files that you have, the cloud documents that you create, and the fact that they can look into these, like someone from Adobe have the option to check your files, is also a big question mark, and still is. It hasn't been like resolved completely. Yeah, so there's a lot of things that Adobe needs to get right, because they've been, yeah, like I said, they've been scrutinized by the industry, specifically in the last couple of months, I would say. But it's been going on and building up to this point. So yeah, they need to work hard to regain the trust of their users, and set things right. So we will see what happens. I am not saying that they are going to stop the subscription model, but they might offer alternatives. You never know. They might actually have something where they will have an alternative where you can buy maybe a limited version of a tool, maybe not using generative features at all, for instance. Who knows? There might be something like that coming up in the future. So with the certification, Adobe doesn't really get in touch with you because you get certified, but you can advertise yourself using the badges that you get. And there is this website. Let me just find, if I can find the website. 1 second. Where is it? I think, yeah, it's called Credly. There you go. I'm just going to pop that in here. So yeah, you can share your certifications online. So this is like an official proof that you passed this exam on a specific date with your name, and then you can even like see even more information about it. And then yeah, so that's something that you can link to from your CV or portfolio or from your website. And there used to be an option for certified instructors to look for potential collaborations with other Adobe like training centers. And I actually found some jobs in the past through that, but unfortunately, because they stopped the certified instructor program, that's not the case anymore. So it was more for like the highest level, the instructor level, where there was more option for like actual connections or networking possibilities. But this one is still something that you can connect to LinkedIn, and then through LinkedIn you can actually find other people having the same badges, and then potentially you can start networking through that. So that's also maybe a viable way of going about it. All right, now we have some more time today, and that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about in terms of this certification. But if you have any more questions about it, I'm happy to go into more detail. Maybe one last question here. If you want to work alongside Adobe or collaborate with Adobe, well, certainly I am working with Adobe on like videos. I've done workshops for them, I've done webinars for them. So certainly if you have these qualifications, it will help you to like be accepted as someone qualified enough to present and do work for them. But even as a designer, you potentially can again utilize these exams to prove that yes, you are familiar with the tools and you have the knowledge. And I think if you apply for jobs at Adobe, whether it's remote or working in their offices, having these qualifications will help, but it really depends on the job that you will be doing for them. So they don't really need that much designers. That design team, I believe, is mainly in the States. The developers, most of them are in India, and then they obviously have offices all around the world, but they don't directly require graphic designers working for them. However, there is a program that is worth checking out. That's the Adobe Talents or Young Talents or something like that, which they do. It's like similar to like an internship that you can do at Adobe, and you are producing designs and illustrations that they can then use for promoting their tools, but you basically represent them within that year when you are in this program. So I think Adobe Talent program or something like that. I can't remember the name. Let me see if I can find it. If someone can find it, please share the link. I can't find it now. They work with schools as well, but this particularly what I'm talking about is something that they used to run. Maybe it's not running anymore. That's why I can't find it. But it was an interesting one, and one of my friends actually got into this program as well. Or he was very close to get the internship. He was in like the finals or finalists being chosen into. Maybe he didn't get in the end, but I remember he was definitely close to it. Okay. So I wanted to use a bit of time that we have left, talk about another important topic, and that is generative AI. So before I go into that one, I wanted to also just mention that there is a video that I've done about generative AI this year. If you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend to check it out. It's more about the ethical concerns in general, what generative AI means, and how you should think about it. And I am not like a major supporter of generative AI, but I'm also not saying that you shouldn't use it. So you have to know where and how to use it, but it's still not decided whether generative AI is going to be legislated or restricted. At the moment, it's still the Wild West out there, and it's been going on for a while now. It's still, the legislation hasn't caught up to this technology yet, so we still don't know exactly where the industry is going. But right now, I can say that in my personal workflow, I use generative AI in the concept stage. So when I come up with concepts and ideas for work that I do. So for instance, like this poster was for an exercise for one of our courses. And in this one, if this was a poster with actual actors for a movie poster, all of these characters are generated, so they are not real. This could be a good exploration for a composition before I get the actual images that I can use. So this is something that I can very quickly mock up based on my prompts that I used to generate these characters. And of course, these are all put together in Photoshop. So if I show you the composition, you can see the characters without the adjustments, and you can see I can layer them up. I can still come up with the composition myself, and then all the additional details that we can see here, that background, the text, this is all also generated. So like this image, this image without the effects was generated. Then the top bit was also generated within Photoshop, and it's a mixture of things that I use for these workflows. But of course, like if this is a real movie poster, you would have to work with images of those actors, so it wouldn't apply. But you can still maybe use it for backgrounds, for certain details, and yeah, so you can use it to fill in certain details. But more importantly, I see generative AI a great, very fast, rapid way of coming up with concepts and visualizing things that you have in your head. And then you can start refining those, or maybe do a photo shoot based on those, and then have a version of the initial idea that you actually have the rights to. Because when it comes to generative AI, most of the platforms, whenever you generate an image, you don't hold the rights to that. It's been generated and anyone can take it from you. A good example is Midjourney. If you go on Midjourney and you just browse through the feed that other people do, if someone just picks an image from there and use it in something, no one can complain about it because they don't hold the rights to it. So yeah, it's one of those things that if you want to have stuff that is licensed and you are the actual you are actually entitled to use those and make money from it, and make sure that other people won't be able to copy it without having legal problems, then generative AI, relying entirely on generative AI, is not a viable option. But using it for research, exploration, concept stage is great for that. And I am using a combination of tools like Midjourney, FreePic, has also some really cool generative AI features. Magnific is one of my favorite ones. I can just show this quickly as well. So here's an example of that composition that I just showed you. Magnific can like re-render or upscale an image, but also use a way of adding more detail to it. And yeah, like for instance, an image that was generated in Midjourney, like this one, you can see it's like a landscape made of food, and then using Magnific, you can add a lot more detail to it. It might not always work perfectly. So like this is supposed to be corn. Some of them might not look like corn, more like beans. And again, some of the vegetables might not work perfectly, but most of it renders really well. And it's a massive improvement, the before and after, in terms of resolution, quality, detail. So yeah, Magnific is an awesome tool. Unfortunately, it's not free, but I guess you get some free credits to try it out. And their upscaler is only one thing, but they also have style transfer and relight. And yeah, Magnific is still one of the best tools that I actually utilize in my projects. You can see like here's a low resolution version of a render for this interior, and again Magnific is adding so much more detail without actually changing the context or the main details of the composition. These were for some concept visualization project that I was working on. And yeah, you can see again from before and after, Magnific does an amazing job at it. So if I had to choose one tool in terms of generative AI that utilizes generative AI, I would pick Magnific AI being the best. That really I wouldn't want to give up on anymore. I got really so used to it for certain things that I use in my workflow that yeah, I would it would be hard to live without it anymore. So yeah, but like I said, generative AI, I don't think in the long run is going to replace designers' jobs, and it's not going to take over designers' jobs, because it's more like an effective way of searching for things. The best way I can say it is like, yeah, you can have a stock library of images or stock assets, and it might take long to find the right one there. While if you do the generative way and prompting a generative tool, like let's just say Midjourney, you can find the in-between results, the stuff that you wouldn't find on a website or even on Google. So if you want something very specific that is almost impossible to find, now you can generate that. So you can create those in-between things, the hybrids of other results that you would find online, because that's how generative AI works. It scanned, and these models been trained on all the or most of the images online that you can find, and then it can create these hybrids, combining them the results together. So you almost like one generated image is going to be like a culmination or like a hybrid, like I said, of thousands of other images all in one. So yeah, it's like a different way of searching, a different way of looking for references and inspiration. That's the best way I can see it. The Magnific, unfortunately, is subscription based, so it's I think they give you 100 credits to try it out, which is enough for a couple of upscales, or using these other features. But then once you run out, you will have to pay for it. Unfortunately, it's not a free tool. Okay, now before we wrap up, I wanted to just mention one more time the monitor that I mentioned earlier, because I just referred to it. Someone asked about the setup that I'm using. So why am I using this particular BenQ screen? I have a folder here where I can show this example, which compares the previous model and the current model. And already the previous model was amazing. And by the way, this is a generated image that I have on these monitors. So that's me on the left side. I took a video or made a video of these. The video is also on our channel if you want to check it out. I'm comparing the previous model to the new model. And the most impressive thing is that already the previous model had such a amazing representation of colors, even like the very complex high dynamic range images looked great on it. But then this year they came out with this new version, which has this new IPS black panel in it, which has twice as much contrast ratio as before. But more importantly, I mean, if you compare these two images next to each other, and then this is actual shot of the two monitors next to each other, you can just see how much more detail you can see on the new version of it. And it is really like I couldn't believe my eyes. I've been working with really high-end monitors for 20 years or more, and I don't think I've ever seen anything like this, where every little detail just perfectly visible. And even these tough images where, like I said, high contrast and high dynamic range images where there's lots of bright details and lots of dark details, it just looks amazing. Again, you can see the one on the right compared to the one on the left, especially like these dark areas. You just see so much more detail on the new monitor compared to the previous one. And again, like here on these leather details or on his face, like even around the eyes, it's just so much detail get lost compared to this one. And by the way, if you're interested, this image I created, I'm a huge Witcher fan, and I created this with a combination of a lot of things, but I used Midjourney, I used Magnific, I used Photoshop intensely on this one. I've done a lot of editing in Photoshop, but essentially that was the starting image. You can see the original Midjourney prompt. I think I had something like a Witcher comic book, School of the Bear, and I used Jason Momoa's name. I wanted something similar to him, and then I ended up with the final version creating this image. So yeah, if you start out using AI, it's a great starting point, but that's not an end product. Like just like if you search for references online, that's not going to give you professional result, but as you can see, it serves as a great starting point because it really gave me the framework, the mood, the atmosphere, the lighting, everything was there already. It's almost like a rendering compared to a sketch that I would normally do in these cases, and then that can be used to then take it to the next level and then put it together and create the final version. And I can just zoom closer so you can see the amount of detail there is in this image. So it's and that's still not the full resolution, so that's the full resolution. There are telltale signs of this being generated. There are certain areas that obviously I haven't retouched, like there's some strange like paint on his face, which I could retouch. I haven't actually spent time on that, but from a distance, definitely it looks already compelling. And then if this is something that I wanted to use for a project, I would go in and retouch it more in detail. But yeah, that's since I was showing this example, it's a great one to test these monitors, and I actually, since I created it, I use it often for this purpose, just to check the dynamic range and contrast ratio on screens. So I think I think both of these monitors are LED, but I can just double check that for you. So that's the website. I don't think it's OLED. I think it's LED. But yeah, it's a good question. The link is in the description below to their to the website of BenQ, so you can check it out there. Maybe if we go further down in the specs, or up here in the specs, let's see, display, IPS. It's an IPS panel type. I think that's the technical term. So LED, sorry, IPS panel with an LED backlight technology. So yeah, it's not OLED. And yes, it's an ambassador affiliate link. If you, I think there is a discount as well on this. Maybe not, but yeah, it's I think it's mentioned in the description below that it's an affiliate link. And then another question about generative AI will not replace the artist. Yes, I still believe that. There's been like a hype about this, and people got scared, and there was a panic whether it's gonna take our jobs. I don't think it will. I think it's a mistake to ignore it. So you should be familiar with generative AI and be knowledgeable about it. But you also have to be careful about how you use it in your work. But it certainly became a skill that you should have in your skill set. So if you don't know anything about generative AI, you are falling behind, because it has its place in the workflow, in the creative workflow, and you can use it ethically. Again, it's completely up to you how you use it, but if you use it for concepting and coming up with ideas, it can be very useful. But you still have to have your own ideas, and you still shouldn't rely on what generative AI gives you, because that becomes restrictive. It's like almost like someone else designing instead of you. So you should still be the critical. You should have still a critical eye and just pick things from generated images that you like, and then based on that you create something new. All right. Thank you so much for everyone for tuning in. We managed to run over a bit the original time. We will be back next week on Friday. In the meantime, if you have any questions, feel free to ask those questions, and then I will get back to you. The best way to ask questions from us is actually going to our website. So if you go on our website, on any page, you will have this little chat icon at the bottom right corner. You can find relevant answers already here, but if you just choose I have a question about something else, I think you have to click twice on that, and then you can basically fill it in here. So you write your name, email, and your message, and then I will personally review these questions, and I will be able to answer them on the next live stream. Or you can obviously just email us as well. But most importantly, don't forget to enter the contest. So this is running throughout this month. So the 25th of September is the deadline, and we will be doing a live stream where we will review the submitted work. So can't wait to see some submissions for this. So make sure to check it out. The link is in the description below. And again, thank you so much for joining. Next time we will be going through some Illustrator examples and diving deeper into how Illustrator evolved in the last couple of years, and also look at the type of questions you can expect in an exam if you want to certify as an Illustrator Certified Professional. And we will talk about other skills that can be useful in 2024 for a graphic designer. So today we were focusing on generative AI. That's something that we will be touching on next time as well, but there's a couple of other things that I wanted to talk about. So we will be back with that next week, same time, same place. I will add the live stream on the channel, so you will be able to set the notification up for you if you want. I will set it up in the next couple of days. Cool. If someone's asking if you can join the contest, you can join anytime. It's completely free. You just have to obviously first create the logos that you will submit, and once you have it ready, you can submit it anytime. So the contest is open. It runs till the 25th of September, and we will announce the winners on the 30th. So there's still plenty of time, around almost 3 weeks. So good luck for everyone who is planning to do this. And remember, there's the the potential of winning pro membership, where you can learn directly from us, access all our courses, and get personal mentoring from me. So I will be reviewing the work that you do, and within 1 month you can already get a lot of valuable feedback, not just from me but also from our team of professionals and instructors. All right, cool. Thank you so much again for everyone. I will reread the questions here, and if I haven't answered someone, I will try to answer it next time. And in the meantime, take care, have a lovely rest of your day, and also enjoy your weekend. And then I will see you guys next week. Bye bye.